Newness, harmony, and mission. We're going to talk about these three things today. When the Holy Spirit comes, it's a new experience. It was a new experience for the apostles on the day of Pentecost. It was a new experience of God even for Mary, who receives the Holy Spirit also on the day of Pentecost. Sometimes we have this idea that the Holy Spirit only came at Pentecost, or perhaps the Holy Spirit only comes when we receive the sacrament of confirmation. But we're actually receiving the Holy Spirit many, many times throughout our lives. When we're born, there is a life in us. The Holy Spirit is within us. When we're baptized, we are filled with the Holy Spirit. We're told that the Holy Spirit came upon Mary at the Annunciation, and then Jesus becomes present within her. So the Holy Spirit isn't a one-time event in our lives. It's a little bit like loving. Jesus has a commandment to go and to love one another. It's not a one-time experience. It's something that happens over and over again. But it creates newness in every time we are filled with the Holy Spirit. And each of the sacraments, the Holy Spirit is present. And it brings, hopefully, about a change, a new experience of God. And every time we come to the sacraments, every time we receive the Holy Spirit, it should bring about an experience of newness in our life. And we're called to not respond with fear, as sometimes people can be, about change or about new things. But we're called to be positive, to be hopeful, to be joyful about the future. And that's the story of the apostles. They had been in fear after the death of Christ. They had experienced Jesus after the resurrection, and then after the ascension, they gathered together for a number of days in Jerusalem. Some were afraid. Some were not quite aware of what was to happen. And the Holy Spirit comes and it brings a new courage. It brings a new passion to be able to go and live Jesus Christ. And every time we receive the Holy Spirit through all of the sacraments, every time we come to Mass, we are receiving the Holy Spirit. Every time we come to communion, we receive the Holy Spirit. Let us be positive and joyful about the newness it brings in our lives. So newness, harmony. The Holy Spirit doesn't come to make us all the same. Each of us are created in God's image and likeness. But each of us are created uniquely and as originals. We aren't the copies of each other. We aren't clones of each other. The Holy Spirit comes into each and every one of us uniquely. And in being unique within each of us, we are then called to be in harmony. In my family, when we often gather for birthdays, we sing happy birthday, as I'm sure many of us do. And one of the elements, at least in my family, most members of my family are reasonable singers. And when we sing happy birthday, everybody sings a different part. There is all this harmony that happens. We sort of almost, we're playing with harmonies at times when we sing happy birthday. It's sometimes quite fun. We all sing a different part, but we're all together creating the harmony, the polyphony, you could say, or the choir of unity. To be part of a choir or a band or an orchestra, each has their own role. Especially in sort of small groups, each has their own unique role, but we all work together in harmony. And that's our experience of the church. I need to be me, as what the Holy Spirit's come into me in my life as a priest, as someone who is ordained for this specific mission. But each of you you have your own specific mission. You need to be you uniquely. I am me uniquely with the Holy Spirit as you are, and together we create harmony. Each has their own place. Yesterday I was walking around. We have this jazz and blues festival on here in Cronulla. It was on yesterday, it's on today as well. You might have noticed it. And one of the beauties of listening to bands is that you hear people work together in harmony. At least that's the way it's meant to be. that we're all together on the same page, but we are all unique and working together. And we aren't necessarily uniform. We don't need to be copies or clones of each other. We are working together in harmony. And so we all have a mission. And that's what happens on the day of Pentecost. Each of the apostles receive the Holy Spirit. They have courage. They don't reject this new experience. And then they go into the world in harmony. But they also go into the world in their own unique way to bring the mission of Christ into the world. And each of them speak different languages. And then people are hearing in other languages the good news of Jesus Christ. All of us have a part to play in this mission. I invite you to participate in the mission of Christ in your own particular way. Be courageous. Be open to new experiences of service. Work together in harmony and let us go and live the mission of Christ. Pray today and pray every time we come to Mass to be filled with the Holy Spirit. It's not just something that happens at confirmation or baptism. The Holy Spirit comes over and over again. And today we celebrate the beginnings of the church, the coming of the Holy Spirit upon the apostles and Mary for the mission of Christ in the world. We are all participants in this. Let's joyfully pray for the filling of the Holy Spirit within our lives to bring about an experience of newness, an experience of harmony, and let us go into the world proclaiming the good news of Christ, the mission of God in our world.